Language is our genes communicating and transmitting messages. This was elaborated on by Mark Pagel in his 2011 TED Talk. As I said earlier, language is used as a method of self-identification and also cultural identification. It is through language, be it both body language and spoken language, such as metaphors, that we communicate our willingness to adapt to cultural norms as well as social trends. And it is through language that we communicate our resistance towards adapting to a cultural norm or a social trend. In the recently developing field of epigenetics, research has shown that our perception of an environment, not just the environment itself, but our perception of the environment, plays a role in our genetic expression, an integral role in our genetic expression. Prior to our understanding of epigenetics, it was understood that genetic variation was passed on through sexual reproduction. So in light of epigenetics, and in light of language being the lens through which we view the world, we now have this beautiful interplay blossoming between genetics, language, and our environment. These features being at the key, at the heart of influence. And in order to fully appreciate influence, the way in which our minds and our bodies, our physiology, is almost eager to adapt and take in the influences that are going on around us and being processed by us on a subconscious level, I'd like to share with you a couple of extreme examples of influence, of the interplay between epigenetics, language, and the environment and genetics. So the first example that I'd like to share with you is the story of Oksana Malaya in the Ukraine. This is a young girl. She was found at about 11 years old. She was somewhat raised by dogs. And it just so happened that she had a very big family, and for whatever reason she ended up sleeping outside with the dogs. And when she was found at around 11 years old, she would bark like a dog, walk like a dog, on all fours, and she would communicate by barking at people. She genuinely believed that she was a dog. She identified with dogs. They nurtured her, they loved her, she would cuddle with them at night. Her parents fed her regularly. She was well fed, she wasn't malnourished or anything like that. But her closest companions, her best friends, her nurturers, she identified as being the dogs. So she started picking up on the behavior of the dogs, the way of thinking like a dog, acting like a dog. On the other hand is the story of Jacob Barnett. Jacob Barnett was diagnosed with autism at a young age. Doctors declared him as being basically non-functioning. And his mother refused to take that as reality. So she removed labels from her home, very clever woman, labels and distractions. And she really worked to foster his passion, and his passion was in math and physics. So she homeschooled him, for one, and basically allowed him to just read as many books, watch as many shows, movies, all focusing on his passion, math and physics, as well as, conduct fun experiments and that sort of thing. And now, Jacob is doing TED Talks. Jacob is nominated for a Nobel Prize, and I believe he's already in university in his late teens, early teens. Again, the environment and our willingness to adopt the influences taking place around us in order to optimize our survival. This is something that we have essentially been programmed to do. And it's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. The good thing or bad thing is our own subjective, personal perspective that we're labeling on a situation. The same mechanisms that resulted in Jacob, at the age of 15, being nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize in theoretical physics, are the very same mechanisms of influence that took place that resulted in Oksana believing that she was a canine. You see, influence is more than just a mechanism or a phenomenon. It is a tool. It is a tool because once we have an increased awareness of influences taking place on a subconscious level, bringing the subconscious information to the conscious level, we have the ability to reclaim what makes you you. We have the ability to say no to unwanted influences and say yes to those that we do want to contribute to that fundamental conceptual framework that forms our beliefs and ultimately our perception, thus our behavior.